Guess what time it is? It's MYOG Monday, and I want to welcome everybody back. In this MYOG, I'm going to show you how to make my portable coil stove. Now, I call it a coil stove because it's got a coil of aluminum foil in between the thermal felt, and that helps channel heat down into the stove, which causes more alcohol to vaporize, which causes a thermal runaway effect. It gets very hot very fast. It burns the fuel very fast, but it does give you results. And you will see that. We will do a boil test after we build one. So, let me get this out of the way. And I'm going to start putting stuff here, and I'll show you what we're going to need to build this little coil stove. Alrighty, first thing we're going to need is a Tillman medium duty welding blanket. Now, I get this one, it's 3 foot by 3 foot. I get it off Amazon. For all this stuff, if it's available on Amazon, I'll put a link in the description. Okay, so you're going to need this, which is thermal felt. If you can't get it from online, big box stores and most good hardware stores will have thermal felt in the plumbing section, and it'll be in the form of a piece about yay big, and it's so a plumber can put it behind copper pipe when they're sweating pipes so they don't burn a wall in a house. If you describe that to somebody who works in a hardware store or a big box store, they should be able to help you find it. However, you're going to pay a lot more money for that little piece. Trust me, it's cheaper to get this. In fact, your best option with everything I'm going to show you is to get together a group of people who want to build these stoves, and you all pitch in and buy these products, and it'll be a lot cheaper for everybody. Okay? So first thing is this thermal felt welding blanket. Second thing, which now I'm like, where did I put it? Oh, there it is. You need the actual container. Now, I purchased these on Amazon as a 24 pack, and I'll give you the name. I checked this morning, they're still available. Is that Tosnail 1 ounce aluminum round, threaded lid, blah blah blah. Now, unfortunately, they only sell them by the 24 pack. Okay? And that's what you get. Now, the reason I went with something like this, 1, it's compact, 2, it's got a threaded lid so I can seal it back up. So you're going to need the container. Let's say you can't get this, or for whatever reason, find something. I recommend an aluminum container because it won't rot out on you. Other thing you're going to need is rubber gasket material. This is 1/16 of an inch thick. Once again, hardware stores, big box stores, plumbing section. Ask them for rubberized gasket material. I've already cut a gasket for our stove. Now, I made a punch. It's a great big punch, so I punch them out because I made quite a few of these, and they are very useful. Okay, so you need the rubberized gasket material. You're also going to need, this is my own personal preference, I use hockey tape around this rim here so I can get a good grip on it even with gloves on. So hockey tape, that's up to you whether or not you want to do that. And aluminum foil. I use this Reynolds wrap, Pitmaster's Choice, because it's good and thick. It's nice and heavy. Tools. We're going to need measuring instruments. We're going to need a steel ruler, Sharpie, and I prefer this rotary cutter. Use this to cut the blanket. This rotary cutter works really, really good, and a pair of scissors is very helpful. Okay? So that's everything we need for this MYOG. So let me get set up for the first step, and I will bring you right back. And as soon as I turn the camera off, I realize there's one other thing you need. Cutting board, or a surface that you don't mind getting cut up when you use this. Okay, so cutting board. Now I'm going to get us set up for the first step. I'll be right back. Alright everybody, we're set up for the next step. We have our thermal felt. I made a template. It's a 6-inch circle, and that's for our it's a ground protector, but you can also use it as a cozy to pick up hot stuff. I always cut one of these when I make a stove because they pretty much go together. So the first thing we got to do, we're going to open this up. We're going to take our machinist square, and we're going to measure the inside to the top, and this one is 7/8. I don't know if you can see that. So what we want to do is we want to cut a strip that is actually, we're going to go for about 3/4 or so of an inch, maybe a little more, because we don't want this to come all the way up to the rim. We want it just below the rim. And the reason we want it like that is when we put our gasket in here and crank down, because the gasket they give you, it's a foam gasket. Get in here, my fingernail, see? I can pop that right out. This foam gasket, which you can use as a template to draw out and cut your rubber. Okay, use a felt tip pen or a Sharpie. This foam is no good for the alcohol. The methylated alcohol will literally melt this. So this is no good. That's why we have to make a rubber gasket. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that in there. We're good to go. Okay, so we want to cut a strip once again. That's, I'm going to say 3/4, maybe a little more. Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to get everything laid out here to cut 3/4 and bring you right back. Alright, we're ready to measure out and cut our strip. So we're going to measure right here. There. I'm going to come over here. We're going to measure right there. Okay. Now when we go to cut this strip, if I remember right, I need close to a foot, or maybe 13 inches. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I made one. So we're going to cut 13 inches just to be sure I have enough material. And as you see, I'm kind of pulling this out in places. This felt is kind of stretchy, and I just want to make sure I get this as straight as possible. Now, the interesting thing about this felt is after your first burn, it shrinks a little bit, which is fine. I don't mind it shrinking because it tends to condense the fibers a little bit. Oh, it'd help if I had that blade out, wouldn't it? So we're going to cut 13 inches, which is right about, I'm sorry, I'm probably off camera a little bit. There we go. So I got my 13-inch piece. Take this, and we'll fit it in here and see if we cut enough or not. And all I'm doing is I'm feeding this in here. Or, why am I doing it the hard way? I can just roll this up. Eesh. I promise I got enough sleep last night. I don't know why I'm doing stuff kind of backwards lately. Okay. Look at that. There we go. So 13 inches makes plenty. Now we need to cut our other piece, which is going to be the aluminum. So let me get set up for that, and I'll bring you right back. Alright, we are back. We are set up for the aluminum. And you just want to make sure that you have a nice clean edge. I just had to cut a little piece off before I realized I should have started the camera and showed you that. And I just cut off, you know how you got the strip here where you rip and cut the aluminum on the box? I just got rid of that. That's all I did. So, we will see if my silver Sharpie shows up or not on this. Now we want to cut this a little taller than the 3/4. So I'm going to go 1/16 inch higher. Yep, it shows up. Barely. 1/16 inch higher than our thermal felt. And the reason for that is when the thermal felt, it's going to shrink a little bit. We have some of the coil exposed to heat. Okay, get this all lined up. All right. Get that lined up. And that noise you hear in the background is my female cat, Kira, got a piece of aluminum foil out of the garbage and is playing with it. Cats, you know? Cats. Okay. Alright. So we have that cut. I'm just going to smooth it out. Doesn't have to be. I'm just being a little OCD. Okay, so we have our thermal felt. We have our foil. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a fruit roll up with it. Okay, so I'm sorry I'm doing some of this off camera. It's very hard for me to reach around this camera sometimes and do things. I realize that my dexterity is not as good as I think it is when you're trying to do it very differently like that than normal. Okay, so I got this started and you can see that in there. More of this will be exposed after we do our first burn. So I'm not really too worried about it. I'm just going to roll it all up. I'm just going to keep it tight. See? Now here at the very end, I have more foil that goes around. That's fine. We're just going to shove this whole thing, if I can keep it from coming apart in my hands. Okay, we're just going to shove this whole thing in here once I get it fit. Okay, I'm going to let it just kind of... Alright, now what we need to do is we need to do an initial burn and let that set. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up for that, and I'll bring you back for that burn. But before we do the burn, I'm glad I caught myself, we got to cut our 6-inch disc out of the thermal felt. So let's go do that. I'll get set up for that and bring you right back. Alright, we are back. So we have our thermal felt. I have my 6-inch disc template, my Sharpie, and a pair of scissors. I find scissors is the easiest way to cut these discs. Try doing it with a that roller cutter that I call a little pizza cutter, because that's what it reminds me of. Trying to cut it with that is kind of a nightmare. Okay. So there is our disc, and as you can see, there's other spots here. I've cut quite a few. In fact, pretty soon I'm going to have to order another one of these blankets because I got that terrible stove disease where I keep messing with camping stoves all the time. Me and Ernie, man. Me and Ernie of the Paleo Hiker MD channel. I tell you, it's terrible. Okay. So I got my piece. I'm just going to go around this sucker. Now these little pieces, these scrap pieces, I keep these. And what you can do with these, there we go. So there's our disc. These scrap pieces, I keep them. I've been trying to research how these blankets are made, how the felt is made. Someday I want to see if I can turn these back into just raw fiber and reconstitute them. If anybody knows how to do that, please contact me. I'd really like to give that a try. But I don't like throwing this stuff away. Okay, we got our disc. On to the next step, everybody. Okay, everyone. We are set to do our initial burn to kind of shrink that felt down. We are going to be using heat. The cat, of course, is making a ton of noise. I tell you, if it's not James, it's Kira. If it's not Kira, it's James. They're twins, and you can tell. Anyway, I have the heat loaded up my Trangia fuel bottle, which I absolutely love these fuel bottles. And what we're going to do is we're going to load this up, not 100% full, but I want to see when the fibers get all wet. And I know it's hard to see in camera. Those fibers look pretty wet. That ain't full though. I'd say that's maybe 3/4. And I just go on experience doing that. I'm going to shut off my ring light. I'm going to shut off my overhead light. I got my lighter. And there we go. And I do have a window over here cracked because, you know, you don't want to asphyxiate yourself doing this indoors. Let me turn off this other light. There we go. Now you can really see that flame. Of course, now my autofocus will start acting up. Let me move over here. We just want to let this burn out. I just want to let it burn all the fuel out, get good and hot, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do a boil test. And I will show you what this little pocket stove, because it literally fits in your pocket. I mean, heck, that's my hand. And that thing's pretty tiny. But it puts out a tremendous amount of heat. Now you notice when we started, that flame wasn't as tall as it is now. It's getting taller and taller. That's that thermal runaway effect. It is heating up. And the hotter this thing gets, the faster it burns fuel. If you could imagine like a muscle car or something with a throttle stuck wide open, and you're just going down the highway faster, 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 faster. That's kind of what this is. I had the idea for this after messing with like tons of homemade little stoves. And this, like I said, works surprisingly well. You know. You might have to reload it and do 2 burns in the winter, and usually I do if I want a rolling boil. But as you'll see later here when we do a boil test, you know, if you were rocking one right now, outside it says 81 degrees here. Inside about 74 degrees. This will bring 2 cups of water almost to a rolling boil in about between 12 and 13 minutes at these temperatures. In cold weather, obviously longer. That's why you have to reload the stove. But we're just going to let this burn out. Oh, I hope everybody's weekend was good. Obviously, this gets posted Monday. My weekend was pretty good. Not terrible, but not bad. I suppose if I can have a weekend and it's not bad, I had a pretty good weekend. So, and it's still burning. You know what? I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause this, and I'll bring you back when this is burnt down and about to go out. Because I don't want to make you sit here for 12, 13 minutes, okay? I'll bring you back. Alright, we're back. And we're about 10, 12 minutes later. And she is burning down. How you can tell when one of these stoves is burning down, this flame here, it will get obviously smaller, but you'll start seeing the thermal felt will get this red glow about it, and that means the fibers are having a hard time bringing up fuel. And that's the cat again. Hey, I'm trying to do a video here. Do you mind? Come on. Nope, 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 don't come in here. Nope, come on. Go out there, chase that. Jeez, crazy cats. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, small flame. And you'll start getting this like flashing effect. See this like strobing here? I don't know, let me try zooming in. See if you can get a better look. Alright, yeah, you see this flame here? It's like strobing. It's because we're running out of fuel and the fibers are sucking up what's left. So as soon as fuel becomes available, the flame strobes over and burns it. So we're probably a minute or two away from this going out. And just again, because I said it in my video on these stoves, on alcohol stoves, in full light, you can barely see a flame. Turn that light off, you can see that flame. That blue flame is hard to see in sunlight and in full light. Generally, I just hold my hand over them in those kind of conditions to feel the warmth, to know if it's lit or not. Okay, this is about done. Let me back off on this just a little bit. Yep, slowly going out. And we want, the first burn, we want to do this. We want to burn it completely dry. And like I said, that helps shrink these fibers just a little bit and expose more of our aluminum for our coil. We're getting there. It'll burn all the way down to the very center core, usually. And the cat is back with that piece of aluminum foil. Ay, gee. Hey! What are you guys doing? You know I'm trying to film in here, right? Go on. Sheesh. Now both of them are doing it. They're fighting over that. and they just brought it back in here. I didn't throw it so you could fetch it. You're not a dog, you're a cat. Don't look at me like that. Anyway, we're almost burnt out. Come on. You can do it. You can burn out. And this is generally what it ends up looking like just before she goes. See if I can get that to focus. There we go. It goes down to just a tiny little point. Yep. Yeah, this thermal felt is pretty amazing stuff if you've never messed with it. And it's out. Okay, I'm going to turn the light on. And look at that. More of the coil all the way around is exposed now. I don't want to touch that stove. It is still hot. But look at that. Oops. Almost burnt myself. More of that aluminum coil is exposed. And what you can do is you can take an awl or similar pointy tool, and you can kind of compact those fibers. If you see a spot where the coil is a little bend to it and you're a little OCD like me and you want to straighten it, okay, let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. I would say that's acceptable. I'm going to let that cool off now. And when I bring you back, we're going to do a boil test. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright, we're back. I just realized we didn't put the hockey tape on here. So we're going to do that real quick. I got this hockey tape at Dunham's Sporting Goods. It was like $3.99 because I realized I didn't have any, and I actually have another video I'm going to be shooting where I needed this, and I'm really glad I bought it because I didn't even think of it for this stove video. Boy, they got this stuff all wrapped in plastic. Okay, alright. Now the cat hears that crinkly. She loves anything that's crinkly and makes noise. She was the one that was running around with that piece of aluminum foil, and then James was trying to take it from her, which resulted in a fight that happened off camera. Okay, gonna take a length, about that much. Not gonna be super scientific with this. Cut it. And what I do with this hockey tape is I take it, place it on the edge of a table, stretch it out, and I'm using the scissors basically to cut it in half. And you don't have to be perfect with this stuff, just got to get it done. Okay, I've almost got it. Sometimes you can rip it when you get it, the cut started, but I'm not going to risk that because knowing my luck, it'll just go all over the place. Alright. So we have our two pieces. Now we're just going to take our lid, and like I said before, I tend to do this because it just gives me something to grip, a little bit better purchase even with gloves on, especially in cold weather. Because this stuff, if you've never used hockey tape, it's kind of like what they use on tennis rackets and other athletic equipment. It leaves a tacky, it's very tacky, and it is great to grip with. Okay, I'm going to take this piece, put it there, and that's all I'm doing is just Putting that on there nice and tight. Okay, I got some excess. You can either fold that over or trim it off. I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to trim that off. Because, yeah, I'm a little OCD that way. I realize, you know, that this isn't for everybody. It's just what I do. I think I have pretty good reason to be doing it. And somebody else may find it useful. That's really the point of all my videos. To share what I know and hope that somebody finds it useful. Makes somebody's outdoor adventure a little bit more fun. Okay, there it is. So, makes it easy to on, easy off. Okay, now we're going to get set up for the boil test, and I'll bring you back. Alright everybody, we are back and we are ready for our boil test. We will be using the Pathfinder School modified stove and the Pathfinder School canteen cup. We have 16 ounces of fluid in there, that's 2 cups. Okay, before we get started on all that, let me use my digital thermometer. We're going to see what the temperature of the water is. And it's 82 degrees, it's tepid. I think I got this one out of my truck, this guy, so it's a little tepid, which is what we would get in the summertime anyway. It's nice and hot outside. In fact, my thermometer outside says, oh man, it's 91 degrees, holy smokes. So, we have our stove full of heat. You can actually see a glare, that's how full it is. We're going to put our lid on our cup. We got our timer right here. We're going to turn that off. Light that bad boy. Put our stove on there. Put this guy on. And we're starting our timer. I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on. And we're just going to sit back and let it do its thing. And every few minutes we will pop the top off and see if we are boiling. Let me just adjust this. This is so when I bring you guys in, there we go, that we can actually see what the heck is going on. Let me move. There we go. Now we can see everything. I'm not sure. This should bring 2 cups to a boil. Generally I use this in cold weather. So we will see. And in cold weather usually I have to load the stove up twice. So I got to go through 2 burns to get a boil. So I'm going to go ahead and shut up now. I want to show you the flame in that stove, so I'm gonna kind of be bouncing you guys around a bit so I can get you in there. But see that flame? It's like taking up the whole inside in there. It's gonna get the side of that stove stand red. In fact, I can already see it. It's red hot. Let me reach up here and turn this light off. Yeah. The sides of that stove stand are already getting red hot. Come around. Got a little bit of flame sticking out the back. Hear that sizzling? That's it heating up. Okay. I'm going to set this back up. And turn this light back on. And this one back on so we can see what we're doing. Okay. We are approaching 3 minutes. Let's take a look. Not really any bubbles to speak of. But then again, I know outdoors it takes between 13 or more minutes depending on the temperature. You know, usually right around 15 minutes. But it does put out an awful lot of heat. Ooh. What's up, James? Huh? I got the cat sitting here staring at me. Come here. What are you doing? Okay. We are approaching 4 minutes. It's still burning quite brightly under there, and no bubbles yet. Yes, James. Alright, I'll pet you. How you doing? Come over here. Yep, stay away from that. Okay. Approaching 4.5 minutes. No bubbles. James, get away from there. Cat rubbing on the tripod. Alright, come on. There you go. Okay, cats are out on the front porch. So they have porch privileges, so hopefully we won't be interrupted again. Alright, we're at what, 5 minutes going on, coming up 20 seconds. I don't hear nothing, so I don't need to pop it open. We'll let it go a little bit longer before we look to see if we're getting any bubbles yet. On a full load, like I said, the stove will burn for right around 13 minutes. I don't want that to melt. Back it off just a hair. Okay, 6 minutes. Let's take a look. Oh, we're getting some bubbles down in there. Yeah, we might get a boil. We'll see. I hope everybody's weekend was really good. Mine was okay. I took the whole week off for my birthday, so didn't want to deal with work or anything. Not around my birthday. It's funny too because they actually called my phone like 3 times wanting me to come in. I guess they were short-handed, but nope. My answer to that's going to be nope. Not coming in. Alright, we're approaching 7 minutes. Oh yeah. Hear that? Yeah, she's getting warm. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, some bubble action. Definitely. That stainless steel is just groaning as it's heating up. So one advantage I never talked about with the alcohol stove compared to the canister stoves and all that, they're very quiet. And in the winter time, being quiet is pretty dang good, because the sound, when it's so cold out, can carry for ridiculously far lengths. Okay, we're over 8 minutes. I don't know if you guys can see that. In fact, why don't I just prop that up? There we go. I can actually see that through the viewfinder. Sweet! Alright, we're approaching 9 minutes. No, James, go back out on the porch. You have porch privileges right now. Go. Go on. Yeah, go. No, get back out there on the porch. No, I'm not letting you outside. I swear, cat takes an inch, he wants a mile. Okay, we're over 9 minutes. Let's take a look. Oh, look at that. We're almost boiling. Got a little bit of bubble action going on there. We'll leave the top off at this point. Ooh, that's hot. And so we can see the exact moment we get a boil. Now granted, the water was tepid. It was 82 degrees, 83 degrees, because every time I hit it with the thermal guy, let's see what she says right now. It says 198. No, get back out on the porch, cat. You're wearing my patience out. Okay, 10 minutes. Let's see what kind of temperature reading we get. 203. Now obviously if this water had been room temperature right around 70 degrees, it ain't gonna boil this fast. But we're at 10.5 minutes. That stove's gonna be running out of fuel here in a little bit. Get! And I'm gonna call that right there a boil at right around 11 minutes. Let's see what the temperature reads. It says 210. So I guess it's not technically a boil, since boiling water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. We still got a flame down there, but it's starting to die down. Yep, 213. So we're boiling. So there you go. That's what that stove looks like. Let's go ahead and I'm going to pick this stove up off here. Now I'm grabbing the handle down here like that. Let me turn that on. So I know this part of the handle is going to be hot. And that stove is still burning. We're going to let it burn down. Or I can just put it out by blowing. Let me get over here, turn that light off. And watch this. Just blow it right out. So, that is that for our boil test. Now, I am going to show you a neat little trick. You can take a metal tent stake and feed it through here just like this. See, it's going to stick to that pad. And you can pick this up to move it because that's very hot. You don't want to touch it. This stove is going to cool off pretty quick. Yeah, it's still a little warm because it's aluminum. But I do want to show you something. So the fibers are compacting. It's looking really good. More of the coil is exposed. But see that tiny little burn mark? That's from the excess heat, and you see that impression? That's how hot that little stove gets. That little stove is no joke. So, I hope you enjoyed this MYOG. I hope you learned something. Obviously, if you could get a screw top canister like this that's a little bigger or maybe a little taller, you could do your own stove. I just chose this size. It's a 1 ounce size container because they were reasonably priced, and I know 1 ounce of fuel will usually get me there. Like I said, in the wintertime, I gotta load a stove up like this and do 2 burns to get a boil. And then from this 16 ounces, I'm gonna have enough to make coffee and a meal if I'm using Mountain House. So that's it, and I'll see y'all later out in the woods.